Ba-na-na,
It's getting better.
Yes,
Getting better.
every day I just get better at the slides at Collinsworth. Thank you. Welcome back to another edition of The Blue Review. Of course, you all know us. We're here every day, 9:30, 9:55, talking Dodgers baseball. If it's your first time here, you can find all our socials down below. This is your first time to get Dodgers talk every morning. And it's an early day today, so even perfect because we're going to preview some Flaherty talk. We're going to react to Buehler and the tough game yesterday. So a lot to get into and maybe some interesting stuff going on in the MLB rules change. I don't know. We'll see what we can get into today. There's a lot to talk about here in the baseball world. But before we do, just want to remind everyone that we are presented by LAX, and our friends at Los Angeles International Airport are doing some great things over there, changing the travel experience, do some traffic saving guest time. And if you want to learn more, check it out at flylax.com/transforming LAX. So without further ado, welcome back, Marcus. It's great to have you here. It was a fun past couple days. How have you been?
Yeah, man, it's good to be back. It feels like forever. I mean, I know it was just Monday, but it feels like way longer than that. But it's nice to be back. Look, things were rolling along yesterday. The Dodgers hit a little bit of a speed bump. I know we'll get into it, but overall, it's just sort of nice. It's comforting to see this lineup. Nature is healing, Mookie Betts is back. Seems like Max Muncy is on the way. Tommy Edman is on the way. Nature is healing itself, and that has been very encouraging.
It very much is healing itself. I mean, obviously there was a loss yesterday, and we can get very much into why those things happen. Nature is healing itself, but besides the fact that they've been playing as well as they have been playing, and they're still only 2.5 up in the division, that's just crazy on both the Diamondbacks and the Padres. The one thing I will say about that, I just don't believe that the Diamondbacks and Padres will play at this high of a clip for the rest of the season.
No, I don't think so either. It's just they have, the Padres especially, and the Diamondbacks to some extent, they have hit a very soft part of their schedule. I mean, they got the Marlins. They have the Pirates, who just are in a tailspin right now. They can't figure anything out. After this, they've got the Rockies for 3. So it is a soft part of the schedule. You would hope, though, like coming up, they've got a Twins team that's playing pretty well. They have a Mets team that, I don't know, you never know from day to day what you're going to get from the Mets.
They're always all over the place.
But I think the schedule gets a little bit more difficult coming up, so hopefully that helps the Dodgers.
Yeah, hopefully, because the Dodgers' schedule doesn't get any easier for quite some time. So especially this entire month, it is extremely hard. So nice to have Mookie back to kind of settle those things down. Now we just got to figure out what's going to happen with Max Muncy and Tommy Edman. And Marcus, I think for the last few days, we've been talking about, who's it going to be? Who's going to be DFA'd once Max Muncy because it's roster spots. Yeah. It is actually 40-man roster spots. You can't just put people down into AAA and say, okay, that's fine. We're great. You need 40-man roster spots. And so at that point, it was a lot of Hayward. It was a lot of Kiermaier. It was a lot of Nick Ahmed. I think Nick Ahmed's going to be on the way out. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Ahmed's probably the odd man out here especially because he really only plays one position for you. I don't see them moving on from Kiermaier. I mean, I think, look, he's already announced that he's retiring. I just feel like they're going to sort of let him play out the string, and he can give you a good defensive center field where they definitely need some help. Edman can play multiple positions, so it does feel like Nick Ahmed's probably the odd man out here.
But with 2 of those guys coming back, there's a lot of thought around, it may have to be 2 of the 3. Obviously, you can push Andy Pages down and option him because he does have options, but you still need a 40-man roster spot because these guys are on the 60-day IL and they need to bring them onto that 40-man roster. So I think there's no way that you can move Kiermaier. I think there's a candidate. I think I found the candidate. I don't even know if it can go. I think Walker Buehler is the candidate for DFA.
Wow. I mean, you might be right. I think from an actual baseball standpoint, there's a lot of argument for it. I think from an emotional standpoint, I think it
sucks.
It's hard, man. It's really
and I want to
hard.
give him another one. I want to give him another start too. But I mean, can you keep throwing him out there?
I just not right now. And it's disappointing because I know his last rehab start was a good one before he came back, and it just seemed like, all right, maybe he's starting to turn a corner and get things going. But then he walks 3 guys in the first inning. I mean, he's fortunate to that Kiermaier makes a dart of a throw to home plate to get the double play, and that keeps him out of trouble in the first inning. But second inning, he gives up a home run. He gives up a few more runs. At some point, you do just have to wonder if this is what Walker Buehler is right now. What was he? I think he was at 60-something pitches through 2 innings. It's not great.
Yeah, Frankie Montas was too, and he ended up
Right.
going 5 because they just stopped hitting again. So I don't want to blame this loss on Walker Buehler.
True.
I mean, he was a big contributor to it, but the fact is, the Dodgers had a ton of opportunities to take the lead, or I mean, they tied it up, and they had a ton of opportunities to even take the lead and win that game, and they just didn't get it done when they needed to. They didn't get the big hit, and they allowed Frankie Montas, who they had him at like 35 pitches after the first inning,
Yeah.
and they still couldn't get him out of the game till the end of it. So that was frustrating to see, the fact that they couldn't do that. But look, if it comes down to who's going to go, and that's, I think, the biggest thing that's going on right now, I don't see how you can give Walker Buehler another outing. I would love to give him an out, but if you have to worry about 40-man roster spots and you want to, and where it's going to be, I mean, unless you just put him on the 60-day IL and wonder what's going to happen to him next year, because you're not re-signing him as of right now.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I don't know. That probably is the move, and I'm trying to figure out I feel like he's sort of around at the moment. One, I think they really are still hoping that maybe he can kind of get fixed a little bit, but also because they just need another arm in the rotation. I mean, if what we saw a couple nights ago is what they want to do with, say, the Gavin Stone spot, they used Stone, they got 5 innings out of him, then they turned to Landon Knack to go the rest of the way. So I don't know if they want to make that sort of an opener situation, or just kind of have that be a tandem. If they really are willing to move on from Buehler, then I think Knack's the guy who slides into that spot and at least holds it down until Yamamoto comes back. Because I also think that's part of this, is that they are sort of trying to count the days until they can get Yamamoto back in the rotation. And then you've got a great top 3 with Glasnow, Flaherty, and Yamamoto in some order there. And then you can figure out the other 2 or 3 spots in your rotation going forward. I guess Kershaw's still going to be in there. So you got one more spot at least to fill.
Yeah, it'll be Kershaw. I think Justin Robleski is going to get a chance on Friday, I believe, to have another shot, because he looked really, really good. It just sinks how much what happened to River Ryan, because he very much would have been involved in all of this discussion. It would have changed so many things where you can kind of give Walker Buehler more time. Now, I don't know if it actually is going to be Walker Buehler. That is just, if it comes down to, for you, if it comes down to, because of because of the 40-man roster spots and they're coming off the 60-day IL, you have to take people off of that.
Yeah.
If it comes down to Hayward, Kiermaier, Ahmed, and Buehler, and you have to take 2 off, which are the 2?
I mean, I think Ahmed, like I said, I think Ahmed is sort of, his days are numbered when everybody gets healthy, and it probably is Buehler as the other guy. I'll say this too. Last night, I mean, Buehler, as you mentioned, he didn't necessarily help the situation, but of the 5 runs that the Dodgers gave up, 4 of them were unearned. I mean, defensively, it was kind of a train wreck. It was a train wreck last night. Although I did see a funny tweet from the fake Ned Coletti account after was it the 8th inning, the little flare that drops in, it gets under Mookie's glove. He tweeted, "That's what happens when you put a shortstop out in right field."
That's very true.
So that was pretty good. But yeah, I mean, look, in the end, at this point, they have seen a lot of Walker Buehler, and it's just about them having to make tough decisions. I think if this were another team in a different situation, if you weren't a contending team, you let him sort of work out his issues here at the major league level. You have aspirations beyond that. And unfortunately for him, the clock is ticking to kind of get right, or he's just not going to be here, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, he's not. And it stinks, but you have to look forward to it, because what they did when they got rid of Ahmed Rosario, they did it because we're not going to have you on the postseason roster. Yeah. We don't have a lot of runway for you to even get at bats. There's not going to be a ton of left-handed pitchers coming up that we're going to even put you in for. And when they do, we're going to have probably somebody else that's going to go out in there. So they let him go. I was shocked that they did it, but they let him go. When you think about Buehler, I just don't see how at this point, if he's going to make it on the postseason roster. If he's not going to make it onto your postseason roster, and you want to give him another start, maybe even 2, but with the way that this division is stacking up, how close it is right now, and how the soft spot in their schedule that you're talking about it when it comes to the Padres and the Diamondbacks, I don't see how Walker Buehler actually makes sense for this team anymore. And if that's the case, it's 60-day IL, DFA, something along those lines. That's the roster spot that I want to get rid of.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right, because I was also trying to go through the pitching staff currently and seeing where there are guys that could sort of be moved on from. And we know who the starters are going to be. You know, your Vesia, Hudson, Phillips, regardless of their struggles, they're still going to be here. You know, Anthony Banda, for a guy that they just sort of picked up and, you know,
trash heap. Yeah.
Right. And he's done very well for them. I know he's had a couple of hiccups here and there, but I think overall, I think they have to be pleased with what they've gotten out of Anthony Banda. I think Brent Honeywell has pitched well enough to deserve getting some more run. Michael Grove, we know, is going to get there. So really, Buehler is kind of the one guy. You know, I don't see them making a move with Joe Kelly. Buehler's kind of the one guy that is really on the hot seat at the moment.
Yeah, I just don't see what else you can do with him at this point. So that seems to be. I mean, honestly, if that means that we don't have to get rid of the guys like Hayward and Kiermaier, then it almost makes it a little bit easier, right? So I'm kind of more excited. But also, we got to remember that Ryan Brazier is going to be coming off of the 60-day IL. So that's another roster spot that you need on the 40-man. Like, there's just so many other ways to go that it's tough. So that's one thing to do. And Parker, I don't know how you feel about. I mean, I know you also like Walker Buehler and want to give him more chances, but how are you feeling about him?
Well, and another riff in this is that things are sounding good on the Yamamoto end as well.
Yes, it is.
So seeing things like that come out, seeing news about Yamamoto, you know, going to be pitching a simulated inning soon, and he'll be ready for like mid-September and October, like playoff baseball. That's another aspect of this where, unfortunately, odd man out, Butane, and it is emotional because it's like that is after Kershaw, that is my generation's guy for the Dodgers.
My generation.
I mean, he was going to be the guy to take over the torch from Kershaw, right? As
exactly.
Like Kershaw was sort of, you know, exiting stage left, it was going to, you know, pass the torch to Buehler. It's just, you know, the two surgeries really have just sort of, you know, hampered him more than anything because, you know, we'll always be sitting wondering what could have been had he been able to stay healthy.
Yeah. And reading his quote, I think from yesterday in the game, it was just like another thing that just seems emotional because it seemed a little defeated. I think he was saying something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing here, just to keep plugging away and he said wish isn't the right word or hope isn't the right word, but to just keep hopefully doing the right things and it'll come together. And when you're starting to say like, I just hope things will come together, that's a bit of like a defeatist attitude. And it seems like you in your own mind don't feel that you have it. So that was pretty difficult to see, but I mean, regardless of all this, Dodgers, you know, we were going to get into this a little bit. You got Flaherty on the mound. Dodgers are still looking good. So what are you expecting to see, Marcus, from Flaherty tonight? And with the NL West race heating up, I mean, you guys already talked about not expecting Diamondbacks and Padres to be performing this well for this long. What are you going to see from the Dodgers moving forward these next couple weeks?
Well, look, I expect another quality start out of Flaherty. And I know that, you know, the home start was a little bit up and down, but the thing we have seen from him through 2 outings is that he will make pitches when he needs to. And that has been really, really encouraging. So I expect more of the same from a Brewers lineup that's okay, but, you know, they don't have a ton of sock in them. You know, there aren't a ton of guys that frighten you there. So I think for the Dodgers, really, it's more about offensively. Can they score early and keep scoring? Because, Greg, it just feels like they get out and they score a couple of runs early, and then the bats kind of go to sleep. And I know they said a stat on the broadcast, and I'm sorry that I don't remember, but basically pretty much all of their offense seems to come before like the 5th or 6th inning, and anything late, it's just been really, really hard. So if they can, you know, score early, but then also just kind of keep the pressure on and find ways to put up numbers all throughout the game, you just feel so much better about it.
It was 1 through 5 innings, 1 through 5, 31 runs, and innings 6+, it was like 6 or something like that. And then if you add in yesterday's 4 runs, the 3 in the first inning, and 3 in the first inning, you're at 54. Was it 34 in that first 1 through 5?
They got 1 in the 7th.
They got 1. Yesterday. Yeah, 1 in the 7th. So then that you're talking about 7 runs after the 6th inning. That's the problem, and those are things that need to change. And so today, like, that's the other thing with Buehler. Before I get into Flaherty, is that he had the chance. Like, I know I'm just a little upset about it because I loved Walker Buehler so much. Mm-hmm. He was the guy I trusted. Like when Walker Buehler was in a playoff game, I was like, we're good. Yeah. I know what I got from Walker Buehler. He just hasn't been that guy for a little while. But the Dodgers did what they needed to do. They gave him 3 runs. They gave him a 3-run lead, and he just went out there and just walked everybody right away. I got out of the inning, sure, but then just gave it all right back in the next 2 innings. So it was just very difficult to see that happen. For Flaherty today, just what you were saying, just have another quality start, show that you're the number 2 guy, and fight almost for that number 1 spot with Glasnow. Like, they're kind of going back and forth. If you can continue to show that you're the guy that you're 1A or 1B. That's the way that you should be pitching at all times. And then when Yamamoto comes back, maybe he's that 1C. You want those guys to all be your best starters. And it also, I think, pushes Glasnow to be better. So those are all positive things. That's what I kind of hope from. And that's, by the way, that's in less than 2 hours from now.
Yeah.
He starts, it's an 11:10 game. So we got an early game.
Yeah.
11:10, 11:40. I don't remember which
something
one.
Something like that. But yeah, it's early. So yeah,
11:10.
We'll be seeing him really, really soon. Which is weird because I know the Dodgers don't have any off days coming up. They're like in the midst of 13 games in a row. So it's a travel day. Which, by the way, getaway days are always interesting because everybody's trying to get out of town. So these games might fly by. You might see a lot of guys being really aggressive, and maybe Flaherty can sort of take advantage of that. Guys just like, hey, look, man, we got to get on to the next thing, and get on a plane somewhere. So maybe he can sort of get guys to chase a little bit more.
Yeah, and look, if they win today, it's a 3-game lead. It goes back up to 3, and then it's even that way. So hopefully, this is another win and just start a whole nother win streak. It feels like they will be fine. I don't think they'll always have the best record in baseball. They very well could. Who knows? But when everybody comes back next week, it just feels like everything is on the uptick right now. And it's nice to actually feel that way. You started off this way, and then we went completely negative because of Walker Buehler. But to go back to that positive point that we were at the beginning, this is all starting to come across. Lux is playing well. Kike is playing well. Your lineup is so much longer now. And then when Muncy and Edman come back, it's even longer. And if Yamamoto comes back in the beginning of September or even the middle, you feel really good about the pitching staff. So just keep plugging along. And if you don't end up winning the division, that would suck, especially with how much you ran. But it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. You're still going to make the playoffs.
You're still going to make the playoffs. And I mean, look, weirdly, this is maybe me trying to reverse engineer this whole thing. They have been a 1 or 2 seed and they've had the bye before and it just hasn't seemed to work out. So maybe let's just try a different method, right? Maybe, and I'm not advocating that they get into the wild card. Like, I still want them to win the division, but hey, look, maybe if they have to play in that first round, maybe it just sort of keeps them focused and motivated. I don't know. That's me sort of trying to silver lining this whole thing. But I do think it's interesting. And I mentioned this to Parker on Monday. We spent so much time looking over our shoulder as the Padres and the Diamondbacks were creeping up on the Dodgers that we weren't really looking ahead to the fact that, hey, they were going to catch the Phillies for the best record in the National League and catch the Guardians for the best record in the Major League. Like, that was something we weren't focused on because we were so busy with our eyes in the rearview mirror for the last couple of weeks.
So looking forward, I vetted the chat. I wanted some questions from people in there. I saw Craig Osterberg in the chat just mention a comment real quick about Ohtani. We were talking a little bit before the show. He says, Ohtani, please quit swinging for the fences every pitch. Greg, I know you had a little bit of just thoughts on kind of his recent play. What are your thoughts on Craig's comment?
So, I mean, look, how much can you really say about Shohei Ohtani? I'm going to trust Shohei to do whatever Shohei does. Yes, his numbers are dipping a little bit. He's below 300 for the first time since like May. He's at 295. His on base is dipping a little bit, but that dip from Shohei on his on base is 383. So, I mean, like, he's still an amazing player. He still has an over 1,000 OPS. He's going to do what he does. I get it that it feels like he's swinging for the fences, but he's still just going to be what he does. He stole second and third yesterday in the same inning. Like, the dude does everything. I'm never going to be upset with anything he does, but yeah, he's not getting the little hits anymore. It seems to be either a walk or a home run at this point. So I would like to see more doubles, more triples, more just singles, just getting on base and moving the line along. But if he's hitting me home runs, like, who's going to be mad about that? That's just not a thing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, like, you're right. He has recently become kind of a 3 true outcome guy. You know, it's walk, strikeout, home run. But he's still he's still 295 would be second highest in his career for a season. He's got a career high in stolen bases. He's, certainly on pace to maybe get to or surpass his career high in home runs. He's still doing so much for this offense. It's hard for me to really knock a guy who's been an all-star and MVP. There's a reason they brought him in, because to do the things that he does. So I'm just going to trust that he kind of knows what he's doing. And eventually, the good news is he runs into a few of these. And when he does, it's usually problems for the other team.
Now, would you be surprised, either of you be surprised, if all of a sudden he goes 16 for his next 23 and has like 4 home runs, 4 doubles, and is just absolutely insane? Would you be surprised at all?
No.
Of course.
Like I said, he's a Costco player. Things happen in bulk.
Yeah.
Yep. Shout out to Kirkland's finest, Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
So another quick question, I guess, from Roy Estrada. Well, first off, actually, I see the chat. A lot of them are wondering why, because the game's so soon. They're wondering why Mookie wasn't updated in that roster, or why he wasn't playing today. And no word has come out, but I'm sure we can all assume and not make an ass out of ourselves. It's just a day off.
Yeah.
A day game after a night game. You just came off the IL for 2 months.
To answer your question, Bill Plunkett just tweeted this. Dave Roberts, that's day off. It's been a while since he's been playing every day. Give him 3 days. Give him 3 days. Get his legs under him, and then after this one, just let him play it out until the off day. I think after we get through this stretch, I think he should be good to go. So there it is.
There you go. Thank you, Plunkett. There you go, chat. So I'll kind of end with this last question, because this one's kind of a little loaded one. When Muncy and Edman come back, and we have been talking about during this whole show, really, that they're going to be the 2 guys who are pretty much locks for the lineup. Where do you see them going? This is from Roy Estrada. He says, do you put them in the 7 to 9 spot, assuming that the 1 through 6 is already set with Lux, how he's playing?
So you go first.
I almost think I put Muncy back in the 6th and move Lux to the 7th and have him sort of be that catalyst. Or, I mean, even here's the thing. I thought about maybe you put him in that 9 spot, but I do want him to get a couple more at bats than he probably would out of the 9 slot. But you have him at 9, and the way he's hitting, it's almost like a second leadoff hitter, right? You have Lux at 9, you turn the lineup back over to Ohtani. I think that's an interesting way to go about it. But I would like to see him get to the plate a little bit more. So maybe I put him at 7, put Muncy at 6, and then Edman somewhere 8 or 9.
So where's Will Smith and all that?
I mean, I think you move him up to 5th, because I think you can use
him up.
Yeah, I think you move him up because I think you can use whoever Teo and Muncy to kind of protect him. If you put him in between Teo and Muncy, provided Muncy is back and hitting again, I think that helps him out. I get the sense that Will Smith is slowly coming out of this, because I mean, he hit the home run. He hit the home run the other night. He is still working walks. He's still getting on base. He's still putting the ball in play. I'm just trying to remain hopeful that some of these balls that he puts in play start to find grass.
Mm-hmm. So if I was going to try to put it together real quick, so it would be Shohei, Mookie, Freddie, Teoscar. That's 1 through 4 fully set. Mm-hmm. And then it starts to get a little bit interesting from there. I probably put Muncy in the 5 spot. You may that eventually he probably starts a little bit lower at the 6. You have Will Smith, like you're saying, at the 5, but I would probably eventually move Muncy back up to that 5 spot. And then you have either Lux or Will Smith. I'd probably go Will Smith, then Lux, then Edman. And then you have probably like a Kiermaier or somebody else. Whoever the rotating outfielder is in that 9 spot. So, or Rojas or Ahmed, whoever it happens to be, all the way down there. And then that's a long lineup at that point. If you're having, I almost like having, as well, Lux is playing really, really well. How much is it important you want more at bats for him, but would you want him in that 9 spot to be the setter? I just knocked some stuff over. I kind of like him in that 9 spot. That's what he started the season as the 9, is like a secondary leadoff hitter. Yeah. Maybe you go back to that. I don't know. But that's a good problem to have. That means your lineup is so long that you have to have one of the best hitters in baseball right now at your 9 spot. I don't know if he'll actually be there, but I would probably move how you're moving all these things around is going to be really, really interesting.
For sure. I mean, you look at teams with success, and generally they have really good 9-hole hitters, like the teams that have performed in the playoffs as of recent. I mean, the Braves would have rookie standout and stud now Michael Harris batting in the 9th, and he was almost 300 hitter and getting stolen bases nonstop. So to have a guy like Lux, if he's heating up and he stays heating up in the playoffs, kind of being that second leadoff guy, like you said, Marcus, I think that'd be really cool. But it's a good problem to have. Another good problem to have is just Flaherty on the mound for the Dodgers. So we're going to be seeing some good things from him. I'm excited to see what we get. 11-10 is the game, so We'll be reacting on socials. We'll be reacting on the Travis and Sliwa, Mason Ireland today. So stay here on ESPN LA's YouTube. Stay in the chat. Keep hanging with us. Me and producer DeAndre will be back here all day responding to your questions and comments. So thank you for being here today. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Greg. This was a great episode. We'll be here every day, 9:30, 9:55 on the Blue Review. Thank you to LAX.
Producer D, I love the clapping.
Yeah, man, it's great.
Buddy.
The enthusiasm's wonderful. It's welcomed all the time.
Always.